I'm, however, to introduce my studio guest today, and that's Robin Bristow. Good morning, Robin.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm pretty good, actually. Now, you spent an enjoyable time in Sydney and revelled in the freedoms that you found, but you moved on. Why was that?
Sydney got too much for me. I could only last there just over a year. It was very stressful, busy, expensive, and I looked forward to moving to the best part of Australia, and that's why I chose Noosa.
You've done it, that's for sure. 6 years in university, and you've graced Noosa with your talents as an architect. How did you come to choose Noosa to settle?
I met my partner in Sydney, and I told him after a short time after meeting him that I wasn't enjoying Sydney, and he came up to Noosa on a regular basis on holiday, and he said, "Why don't you consider Noosa?" So I came here for a look-see, and it was pretty much decided straight away.
Good choice. Does the urban architecture of Noosa compare to that of South Africa, your home? It is South Africa, isn't it? Your home.
I was born in South Africa.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And is there any? Are they comparable? The urban landscape?
Yes, the cities are remarkably similar. We have a lot of Victorian architecture, so lots of townhouses, the older style houses that are built right next to each other, terrace houses, and in some parts of South Africa you would think you were in Australia. They're so similar.
How did growing up in South Africa shape your social outlook?
Well, I grew up during apartheid, so that was a very interesting time.
It would be a very challenging time because you'd be set in certain ways of master-slave relationships, and suddenly there's a whole new society.
It was interesting growing up in that time, and when I look back on it, you know, it was bizarre in a way that just the local store around the corner from where I grew up had two entrances, one for white people and one for black people.
Sure.
But when you're 5 years old, that's just the way society works for you. You didn't think about it too much.
Yes. I think it was the same in the States. I think they had segregation there, certainly down the south.
Yes.
Now, you have a social conscience, and you saw Tony Abbott and his disciples as an anathema to our freedom of expression, and I dare say a way of life. How did you recently demonstrate that, Robin? Well,
Tony came to Noosa not that long ago with Warren Truss, and he had lunch at Barado's, which is no longer with us, unfortunately, and that infuriated me, the thought of Tony Abbott coming to Noosa. And basically, I think that's what started me on my political path.
Really?
It was very recent, yes.
So he could go anywhere else, but not to Noosa.
Not where I live.
Yes.
So I organised a demonstration, and it was very successful. We had lots of publicity. It was a wonderful day, and we all marched down Hastings Street, waving our rainbow flags and shouting. But the most remarkable thing actually happened just before that, because there was a land rights march through Hastings Street by local Indigenous people, and they met up with us by chance in the park just before we started marching.
Okay.
And there was this most incredible connection and this joining of two groups fighting for different causes, and there was also an incredible result of that, was that we had lots of photographers taking pictures of the event, and I've collated and organised an exhibition of these photographs now, and it's travelling around the country, and we've had the Noosa Library had it on display a month ago, and it's currently at Karoi, but they've just advised me a few minutes ago when I was downstairs that they have to take it down because it's election time, and everyone's got their greens and their sex party T-shirts on, and they have to take the display down and put it up later in the year.
Yeah, it's amazing. I've just recently been to South Australia and to the seat of, goodness, I might have this wrong, Onkaparinga? No, I don't think that's it. Anyway, it's Samantha Bristow. I just can't get the name right. Labor Party. And I arrived there just after the election had been called, and every poll down the main roads has got a photo of her and a caption underneath about what she'll do, a different caption. Well, some different captions, no doubt repeated, because there are literally thousands of these things. So that must come from the postage allowance or something, but it looks so awful. And if I went back now, the blue mob would have theirs up, the Liberals, and somebody else would have theirs up, and the place is just a calamity. So I am totally in support of the laws of our shire here, where you simply can't put up your propaganda there. I mean, it's equal. It's everybody. It hurts you as it does any other candidate. Yeah. But it benefits our eyes. Now, you've found your political conscience and sought out a party in which you feel comfortable. That's the Australian Sex Party. I'd have thought that the Greens might have been the party, but it wasn't, was it?
No, I found the Greens weren't prepared to commit to secular government. And I've really become annoyed by the way the churches are interfering in our lives now. And so...
Are they?
Absolutely.
I thought there was basic equality apart from marriage.
No, when it comes to women's right to abortion, the churches are right there in front shouting that women shouldn't have that right. Mm. When it comes to issues like drug legalization, you'll find the churches are right there in front as well. The marriage equality, of course, is forefront there. The churches are also in getting themselves involved. Mm. Sex education at schools, again, churches involved. Safe schools, churches are involved. They're up to their necks in being involved with with our private lives.
Mm. Councillor, some of those things you mentioned, I could go off at a tangent, but just briefly, you said I think that they're against the legalisation of recreational drugs. Was that the inference there?
Yes, yeah. The Sex Party, the party that I decided to join, that is one of their main policy platforms. Mm. And you can see it working elsewhere in the world, where states in America, Colorado, Oregon, Washington, they all have legalized marijuana, and we look towards those societies.
Okay, but what about heavy drugs or hard drugs?
That should be decriminalized. Mm. And it made a health issue rather than a police issue. Mm. And of course, the upside of all of this is that the government would then be able to tax all of this and get the revenue, and the bikie gangs are the ones who would not be getting the revenue. Mm.
Interesting. Our council has never felt moved to fly a flag that tells of its tolerance of heterosexuals, or homosexuals for that matter. And why should it, when its primary function are looking after the appearance and amenity of our shire, the roads, rates and rubbish thing? So why should they be flying a flag for...
the council has come out with a social plan. Mm. Councils used to be about roads, rates and rubbish, but they've advanced considerably with the way they treat the community. Mm. And their social plan is about inclusion, and it's to help marginalised people within the community. And so by displaying the flag, it's sending out a very clear message that everyone is welcome. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Look, I must be sleeping under a rock or something. I would have thought that most of the things available to me as a heterosexual would be available to homosexuals, but clearly it's not. Well,
gay youth are 6 times more likely to attempt suicide than heterosexuals, so there's clearly a problem in our society.
That's terrible.
And so with bullying at school, and older people not feeling comfortable to come out in their nursing homes. We need council to stand up and tell people that this isn't on.
Okay. Minorities are important, particularly if they contribute in a meaningful way to society. But when the majority of our society is heterosexual, why should we be making further concessions like flag flying that we were just speaking about for that minority? Because they are a minority. It's around about 10% of the population have indulged in a...
Yes, well, that could be taken as an offensive question because, Indigenous people make up 4% of Australian, and we wouldn't have we wouldn't question any policies that were directed at helping Indigenous people, black people, yes.
What do you hope to achieve by joining the Australian Sex Party? If the name is any indication, it seems like a one-issue party. Is that so?
Not at all. I mean, we have very little to do with sex. It's just like the Liberal Party has very little to do with liberal issues. We've got a whole range of policies, and I encourage everyone to go onto our website and have a look at them.
And the website
is www.sexparty.org.au.
Okay, yep. And you're concerned that the chaplaincy program, and it was inferred in what you said earlier, in Australian schools, how could we do it better? I'm not advocating, I'm just asking you.
It's very easy. We just kick out the chaplains and replace them with trained counsellors.
Yeah. Progressive contemporary thinking, particularly among the young, see our government's adherence to fossil fuel policies as immoral and outdated. Do you have a position on the serious introduction of renewable energies?
Yes, this is one of our main policies. We want to be greener than the Greens.
Okay. So in 10 years you want 50%?
Oh, no. I think we look at things in a very rational way.
Yes.
And the solutions are very clear. And the problems are very clear. That's all been determined by science. So we look at those issues and make rational decisions about it. And clean energy is a rational answer to our problems.
Well, I think it's worthy going to www.sexparty.org.au to find out, because, you know, the name of it, and perhaps you need to work on the name, but the name of it suggests, obviously, sex. And some of the Fiona pattern, is it?
Fiona, yes.
Yeah, have come out before and handing packages of sexual material and toys and things like that to parliamentarians. So one would have thought that is their main concern. So I'll be interested to hop on and have a look at that. Well, we haven't solved the problems of contemporary society here, Robin, but I must ask you, where do you hope to be in 5 years' time?
I'm very, well, to quote Malcolm Turnbull, it's a very exciting time to be in Australia, and my dream would be to be in Canberra, because that's where you have influence over what is important to Australians, and you can actually make changes there. And Fiona has made some incredible changes. She's in the Victorian Parliament as an MP, and by herself she has done some incredible good work down there and brought in legislation. For example, she's introduced an exclusion zone around abortion clinics. And the Liberals and the Labour and the Greens have been sitting in that Parliament for years and done nothing about it, and she came in and made that change.
So, I'm sorry, could you explain to me what an exclusion zone is around it?
Yes,
I know what the words are.
Again, the church is interfering in people's choices. They outside these abortion clinics protesting, shoving posters and pamphlets in women's faces as they try and get in and harass them.
That's not right.
So now they've been restricted from going within 150 metres of the clinics.
It's amazing. I thought in the days of somebody before you came to this country, Bertrand Rayner, was pro-abortion, and the stick that he got from church groups, from everybody, including his house, which was in a secluded part of Eltham in Victoria, but they made life impossible for him. It is a woman's choice, I believe, absolutely. You're going to tell me something else, were you?
Yes, well, I was just going to say, our main policy is to tax the churches, because we feel, with all their influence and their interference, it's time that they started to pay their fair share of tax.
I think you'd get broad support for that,
yes,
particularly with the behaviour of churches.
64% of Australians support taxing the church.
It's interesting. But you've got to find a political party that does.
Yes, and that's one of the main policies of the Australian Sex Party.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting, Robin. I think you're going to make an interesting, you already are making an interesting impact on our society here in Noosa. Robin, you showed me the Noosa Today, was it, of last week?
Yes, on the front cover of that.
On the front cover of that?
Yes.
And now in... which is the paper you have there?
This is the Sunshine Coast Daily.
Sunshine Coast Daily?
Yes, I'm on page 8.
Okay, so go to that for more reading and have a look. And don't forget the website is www.sexparty.org.au. And you may